So guys, this is Infinitiy. I think one of the key things that we decided to do with Infinitiy is we were always toying around with the idea of starting a podcast. And you can dream it and then think about it and then work on it and make sure it happens. And this is us making sure that our podcast dream is coming to fruition. This is our first podcast, in fact. And seeing as November is all about health, we'll continue that conversation. Today we have a guest, a very cool guy. He's very cool, but he's very ugly as well.
So you've already started.
I mean, we have to bring the strapness into this. So guys, today I have Simwa. Me and Simwa go way back. Simwa and I actually met in high school. We went to the same high school. We were both in Strathmore. And like Simwa, I decided to go and study engineering at the great university that is JKUAT.
And ended up in the podcast.
Beep that out. We cannot have people. So anyway, guys, Simwa decided to go into one of the courses that I consider very noble. Simwa decided to do what?
Medicine.
So Simwa ni hivyo atitua mchapa. This guy, as he sits there, he's a full-fledged daktari mzima, daktari Simwa. And aside from medicine, Simwa is I don't know. Simwa, tell the people what you do aside from medicine. It's a bit crazy. It's very wild.
I think my ambition when growing up was to do medicine or be a doctor as a side hustle.
Yeah.
so
medicine for him is a side hustle. Medicine is a side hustle.
I do it for the people, for the love of it. Not those things I told in school. Do it for the love. That was medicine for me. Mm-hmm. But aside from that, I also do performing arts. I run a company called Quiver with a couple of my colleagues where we do stage performances and stuff. And also we're slowly moving into digital media. I dance, I choreograph, I write scripts, I do a lot. And I also have, I'm shocked that you were telling me this is the first podcast. Yeah. I actually run a podcast with a colleague of mine called the Prescription Podcast, where we talk about healthcare issues and whatever etc.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's more or less what I do for now. But once Corona stops, who knows?
That podcast. It's called what? Prescription, what?
The Prescription Podcast.
We've never heard of it.
Yeah, you should now. Now you've heard about
Where is it? Which platform?
It's on. It's called what? It's called what?
You don't even know.
It's everywhere. Calvin handles everything. I saw a cake.
So this guy doesn't even know where his podcast is. Our generation, it's a lost one.
And now you see me, I'm an old soul. That's the problem.
Yeah.
That is the problem with me.
Okay.
It's cool. Actually on Anchor. Yes.
Oh, Anchor. I actually intend to put this on Anchor as well. And Apple Podcasts.
Yeah.
They also have some pretty cool podcasts on there. So Simwa, I think one of the key things that we were doing in November, I don't know if you follow Infinitiy or not, is that we were trying to discuss all matters health. November is very big on no shave. You know what I've just realized actually? When I say no shave, I've realized that the camera is all the way up here and I'm balding. I'm just like, clearly I'm like, was that the smartest thing to do right now? Yeah, it looks it. Anyway, guys,
you can't hide the ugly.
So anyway, guys, we were just discussing how we're discussing all the various. We're just discussing on health, to be honest, and we're discussing everything with regard to health. And when I think about health, the first thing I think about is the physique. How are you in terms of body? Is your body able to keep up? Something that people really don't really think about, but I think it's coming into the limelight more and more right now is on mental health. mental health is a very big thing, and something that very many people frowned upon. And the last one would be honor, spiritual health. I think it's something that also people rarely ever talk about, but I think it's very important to also just be one with spirituality, regardless of what you believe in. If you're Muslim, you're Christian, you're atheist, just talk about all these things. So, and I think you're one of those people who has a lot of experience in all of this, from mental, spiritual, all the way to, what was the other one I said? Physical, obviously. You're a doctor. Initially we wanted to talk about cancer, but I felt like we're limiting ourselves with cancer. Why can't we talk about a disease that clearly affects you, which is erectile dysfunction? Let's talk. I'm like, seriously, let's have a candid conversation about all this. I know you've been through it. I know you've been through it, and you're a survivor, and I mean, you can tell us. And I mean, this is not to look down who has erectile dysfunction. It's just to say that let's just not limit ourselves. The notion November shouldn't just be about cancer. We should be able to talk about each and everything that men are going through right now. So I think the thing we want to start with, and I don't know if you'll allow me to start with, is on mental health. In your experience in medicine, what has been your experience mental health, like even if you look at the patients that you guys get? Do you think the men are more, why do you think men are more in terms of, if they are more, why do you think we have more patients who suffer from mental health that are men compared to women? Because me, that's something that I've realized with our generation especially, and I'll give you my insights as to why I think this is the case.
First of all, mental health is a reality, and I think that's one thing which not every human being is advocates or actually accepts. For example, personally, I've also had a personal interaction with mental health, not personally as a patient, but being close to somebody who's been sick, more or less. And one thing I can tell you is, ranging from friends to parents, at first they might say, okay, we accept this diagnosis, or somebody has depression or whatever etc. But somewhere down the line, the narrative changes. And you hear people saying, this guy is just being woody, or this guy is just using this as an excuse not to do 1, 2, 3, 4. So at some point, people stop accepting that it's a condition that you stay with. It's unlike physical illnesses where we see signs and symptoms, where your foot gets injured, we see the blood, we see everything. Those ones we can see and tell and fix if we want to, or control. But now for mental issues, at some point they're good, they're okay, at some point they're not okay, and it fluctuates between that. That's why it's a condition as it is. But now tearing apart between the two, and also that line of, I remember one famous quote that my dad said at one time was, that is not sickness, that is disrespect. It's a time when somebody was acting out, and they're schizophrenic, and they're acting out. Then my dad told that person that what you're doing, you're not sick. That is just pure disrespect. And from his point of view, there's actually a very gray line between the two, because these mental issues, they have effects on how you behave, how you react, how you do things. And I remember I've actually read quite a bit, and also delved quite a bit into mental illnesses, looking at various clinical psychologists, what they say about it, etc. And one thing you realize is, number one, not enough studies and investment goes into mental illness. Most people, there are very few people who actually want to be psychiatrists. And also previously, psychiatrists weren't considered doctors as such. You get? Because I'm sure even most people don't.
What you talk to people, how is that
that's what you do? Exactly. And then people even right now don't know the line between who's a psychologist, who's a psychiatrist, and who's a therapist.
Tell us.
You get?
Tell us.
For example, a psychiatrist is a doctor. He's actually done medicine and surgery. He knows the anatomy, physiology, and all these things, and also the chemicals that might lead you up to having mental illnesses and whatever etc. And then what he does, he's the one who is supposed to be behind your therapy. He's the one who initiates a plan for your therapy, not your psychologist, your clinical psychologist. A psychologist is basically supposed to enforce what a psychiatrist has done. For example, if the psychiatrist says you need to go through behavioral therapy or sex therapy, whatever therapy it is, a psychologist might be called in to actually facilitate that. And there are so many types of psychologists. There are clinical psychologists, and they're the ones who more or less play the role of therapist. So that's the main difference. A psychiatrist will send you to a therapist, but the therapist reports back to the psychiatrist, because the psychiatrist is in charge of the overall treatment of your condition. And he's actually the one who comes up with the diagnosis. Because most people don't know this, but mental illnesses, that there is no chemical test for mental illness. What we have is a bunch of criteria that we use. We say, okay, you're suffering from this, how long has it been, what symptoms do you get, whatever it is. That falls in line with a certain diagnosis, and that's what more or less you might be suffering from. But also that leaves room for these conditions to diagnosis to change over time. You might start off as a depressed patient, but maybe you're suffering from bipolar. So over time the diagnosis might change, or maybe those might be signs of schizophrenia. So the diagnosis might change as you go. That's why psychiatrists recommend you see them frequently, because that diagnosis can change over time, and it changes also the management.
I think just to interject that, there's something you said at the beginning when you just started, was that, and this really resonated with me, that people never ever tried to consider that we have different temperament. So I'll see somebody who's depressed and I'll be like, why can't this person just be a man? I mean, just be a man. And you don't understand. And this person who's going through shit also wants genuinely to be a man. They want to toughen up and feel like, and they also see what I'm going through maybe doesn't make sense to this other person, but I don't understand what I'm going through. You understand? They don't understand why they feel how they're feeling. And it's something that people have to really put in their heads, that we're not all the same.
Exactly.
As in, our chemicals in our body don't react the same. In our brains, they don't interact the same. Because you have people who, say what, like for example, we are both employees. Tony has given us a job. You fire me, and Tony also fires you, so we're both fired. I will maybe just be like, happy good lucky, let me go look for another job. I actually land another job. And what society will view me as is I'm very proactive.
Exactly.
Hey, Saka is this guy, Bana, if he's knocked down, I'm telling you, mara moja, he's back up on his feet. He views challenges as he's almost excited by challenges. But then you get fired, and then you're like thinking, oh my god, what did I do wrong?
And then now I have erectile dysfunction.
I don't know why you're laughing at this. It's a real disease. I don't know why you're laughing. So you're fired from your job, you have erectile dysfunction, and you're just looking at yourself and you're like, what's wrong with me? You understand? And you sink into a hole where it's very hard to come out, and society looks at you and they're like, you're weak. You understand what I'm saying? But then the thing is, it's not that you don't want to be strong, it's just that you don't understand why you're like that. You understand? As in, we're built differently, and that's something that I would like everyone who's watching the podcast, you make sure that you understand that mental illness is, it's not up. It's not for you to understand.
It's an illness.
And but it's not for what my point is. It's not for you to understand. You don't have to understand what this person is going through. You just have to be there for them. I don't know if that makes sense.
Exactly. Because that's the thing about and you see, that's a problem that we have with mental illness. You cannot put it in one box. Even for us as clinicians, us as doctors, there is a lot that we don't know. Even some of the treatments that you will see, a psychiatrist will literally tell you, I'm giving you this drug to see whether it helps
or not.
In that presumption, they're using estimations of it works for 70%, that 30% it doesn't work for. And those ones will use another drug and another drug. But all you're trying to do is balance. Because you see, the source of mental illness is not entirely chemical. You get, there's also social things that are taking over. And then also with that, times, as you progress through life, certain things are changing about you. your character and your temperaments are adapting and changing about you.
Yeah.
So that will also manifest itself in your mental illness. So you find that there's so many clinicians who've given theories as to why mental illness exists and all this, but at the end of the day, they're theories. That means there's a lot that we still don't know.
Unproven.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
in your just speaking to anyone who's going through stuff, I mean, if you're going through things, what has been your experience? So how do people deal, especially our generation? Because I think most people who are watching Infinitiy, I mean, if you're old, it's fine, but most people who are watching Infinitiy, my assumption would be that most of them are young. What would be your advice to the people who are watching Infinitiy on how to have how to be mentally sound, how to be mentally healthy?
First of all, there are two things. The things you can control and the things which you cannot control. For example, you don't get to choose the family you're born into. Neither do you get to choose the state of your family when you're born into that family, whatever. So those are things which can predispose somebody to mental illnesses, but they're not really your choice. You get? And especially in Kenya, there's so many people who are going through a lot, especially at home, and it actually shows itself with the mental state. And the problem is, again, mental illness, no one talks about it, no one even wants to present themselves as being sick or ill. But what I would say is, at any point in time when you feel you're getting an overwhelming and constant sense of mental instability, and that can be either I'm depressed to the point where I can't work, I can't function. It's not a one-off thing. It's not like, we all have those days. We wake up and we're like,
we all do. That's true.
We can't whatever.
But
now when it becomes consistent and constant to the point where you cannot function anymore, please seek medical advice. Go see someone. Go see a psychiatrist. If better, just go see a psychiatrist. Number two, when you find yourself that
just to interject again, and psychiatrists like super expensive, because I think that's a notion that also goes around.
It is, but you see, for you to take mental illness seriously, you have to treat it like any other condition. What happens when you have malaria?
Go to the hospital.
You go to the hospital, you get a malaria test, you get the drugs, and then you're treated. So why do you want to treat mental illness as something different? You get?
That's true.
It's you're ill. That's the point. You're having a symptom that might mean you're sick. That might mean you just need to wake up and go to the hospital and see someone. If not a psychiatrist, you can go see a therapist. They also have this almost similar amount of knowledge, at least, to tell you whether you need to see a psychiatrist or not, when you see a therapist, that is. But you first of all need to seek help. The point of it is this: when you're sick, if you're lying right now in bed and you're not feeling well, you're vomiting, what's the first thing you will do? You call for your brother, whoever is in the house. You tell them, I'm not feeling okay, I need to go to the hospital. Same thing happens with mental illness. When you feel like that, your immediate friend, whatever, whoever you trust, that's the first person you tell. I'm feeling like this and this. But at the end of it, you still need to seek medical advice. Because you might talk to someone and feel better, but for how long? You get? That's true. And then sometimes the burden of talking to someone. Because you imagine, at first, when you tell me you're not feeling okay, you've been fired from your job, you're not performing in the house and whatever it is, you're not able to work. The first time you tell me this, I'll be concerned. I'll come, I'll talk to you and whatever it is. But imagine you tell me that every day for 6 months. Don't you think me as an untrained person who's just a friend, at some point my how do you call it, my perception of what you're going through might be blunted? You get? Because I don't have the training to actually handle what you're telling me. That's why people need to seek medical advice, so that burden is also on the doctor himself. I see. Exactly.
I think good insight. But another thing I wanted just for you to give us a clarity on, like you said, malaria. Malaria is a disease that we have. If I want to prevent malaria, I sleep under a net. How do I prevent mental health? How do I prevent, having disorders related to mental health? To mental health, yes. And
okay. Again, back to the things.
If there is any,
back to the things you can control and the ones you can't. If you're a young parent or you're an aspiring parent and you're raising up a child, you actually have a lot of control on how that child turns out to be. Like we said, mental illness has also has a social background to it. Yeah. So first and foremost, we need to be there for each other. So you, as a person who wants to prevent yourself from being mentally unstable, you need to surround yourself with healthy people.
Yeah.
By healthy, I mean people who, number one, you can trust, people who you can talk to, people you have good relationships with. Yeah. And I mean true friendships, not just these friendships that are casually being thrown around these days, but true friendships, people you can rely on. That's number one thing. So make sure your social circle is very strong in case of anything. You get the same way we'll talk about physical illness. If right now you call me and you say, hey bro, I have not malaria but something more serious, I've been hit by a car, I need this and this and this, your true friends will show up.
They'll come through.
They'll donate blood, they'll do all these things and whatever it is, and you'll quickly recover. So same thing happens with mental illness. You need true friends around you to prevent and also to help you at the event that you're diagnosed with a mental illness. Number two, you have to maintain a good, personal life. This is a very relative comment, but we have seen that in many mental illnesses. For example, they will tell you somebody who's married has a good prognosis compared to somebody who's not at a certain age. Like in your 30s, you get a mental disease. If you're married, you're actually able to control it more than if you're not. What does that mean? It means that your personal life is just not, it's shared between two. The weight is shared between two. Also, another thing, religious people, guys who go to church and whatever, I don't know, church, mosque, temples, whatever, people who maintain a good religious life actually have a good prognosis when it comes to mental illness. So this tells you that there's some things about your own personal life, your own personal identity that you need to get together. And those are things which are not, I know I've mentioned religion and marriage and whatever it is, but they're not limited to that. There are things which are normal to every human life. For example, you have to be temperament. You get, with all your how do you call them? With all your needs. For example, your need to eat, your sexual needs, your sexual desires and all these things. You need to be very moderate and temperamental about them. So you need to achieve a sense of, I don't even know this was stoicism, when it comes to your personal identity.
What's that, like balance?
Yeah, it's like a balance of your life in general. You're one of those guys who's everywhere. You are the most, if you're a man, they call you're a gentleman on the table, on the dinner table, but when you're at war, you're the most savage warrior and whatever. So that is a balance of stoicism. So those are the kind of things that will help to prevent the eruption of these conditions, because sometimes you might be suffering from a mental illness. This is now a theoretical way of looking at it. You might be predisposed to a certain mental illness
because of genetics,
exactly,
blah, blah, blah.
and all those things. But there are certain things that you're doing in your life that prevent you from tipping over to an illness. You get, so your hormones might be predisposed, your hormones and chemicals, they may be predisposed to tip you to a certain mental illness, whether maniac or depressive or whatever. But because I go to work, I'm always busy, I'm maintaining a good social life, I'm maintaining a good family life and all these things, it kind of prevents you from tipping to that point. You get? So those are the things that you need to look at personally. When people just tell you to live a good life, it helps, but it's not the only thing. The problem comes in when now somebody gets a mental illness and then you say it's because of they didn't do this or didn't do that, or didn't whatever it is. You see, at the end of the day, it's not their fault. They're already predisposed to it. You get, even if you try your best, sometimes you might live the best life ever, but you still end up being in a mental illness state. You get, so sometimes it's a balance. There are things you can do to prevent. There are things you can do even to help in the treatment, but sometimes it's an illness all the same. Something wrong is happening which needs to be treated.
Interesting. Mind, body, spirit, balance. You call it stoicism. And I think you can see it. It's like what you call it. It's a trilogy, and it's a beautiful one. If you can, like for example, if you're having mental issues or you're having stress, sometimes they manifest in your body, like you start feeling sick, and it's just something that happened in your head. So I am stressing over Jobo, just thinking about that stress, my blood pressure goes up.
Yeah.
My blood pressure, I don't know if blood pressure leads to heart attack. I don't remember my biology very well. Let's make that assumption. I get high blood pressure and then I die. Okay, it has escalated very fast, but you get the point. So anyway, guys, I think we've dwelt a lot on mental health. My advice to anyone who's going through stuff, we've linked in the description some places where you can get help. We linked it as well in our previous video. We did a video on mental health. Guys, go check it out. It's going to be either here or here
or there,
wherever the guy who's editing decides to put it. And then, so make sure you check that out. Yeah. So
there was one more thing that you asked that I failed to answer. You asked me, why is it that men are the ones we find?
That's actually an interesting topic.
Yes.
That's I don't know how I forgot about that.
Exactly. And I think, like you said, it's a very interesting topic that can take a whole other
podcast.
Yeah, exactly. But the gist of it is, guys have been saying women empowerment and, girl child, which is a very good thing. It's not a bad thing. But at the same time, men are forgotten.
Men are forgotten.
They're very much forgotten. And a man is rather raised to believe that he's supposed to find his way in society. And then on top of that, there are very few proper men to guide us, to even look up to.
Simon, what you're saying is ridiculous. Do you know how much, I feel like I connect to what you're saying? I don't know if you guys had this. Yeah, I did engineering.
Yeah.
Engineering, when you're a female engineer in Kenya, you have the time of your life.
Yeah.
You get good mentorship. You go for all these conferences on women engineering, women in manufacturing. Do we have anything like men in engineering? No. Do we have anything men in manufacturing? No. How are we expected to tarmac?
Exactly.
So the women in my school, I'll give my this is like a solid whatever what you call it example. The girls who were in my school, they had an opportunity to actually build their networks when they're still in university. They go talk to maybe, I know the MD for Isuzu is a lady. She is very big on women in manufacturing. She goes there, the girls go there, they network, they meet other people, they start talking. By the time this guy is getting out of uni, kona jobo.
Exactly, yeah.
The men, we don't have any men in manufacturing. No, but it's for real. It's what you said makes so much sense. And I think we have to start.
Exactly.
We are the ones who have to start.
Exactly.
We have to say, enough is enough. Saying, people made a lot of, people ridiculed this person. You remember there was Maendeleo Wanawake, and then there's a guy who said, "Apana, enough is enough."
Yeah.
Even there are guys who are also getting abused in relationships. So he made Maendeleo Wanaume. Did you see how much hate that guy got on Twitter? It was a bit ridiculous.
And it's like, I don't know if you heard this story. I know this is more global, but did you hear the story about Johnny Depp? The wife accused him of abuse.
Johnny Depp.
And then it came out that she was
the one who was abusing.
But by the time that one is coming out, the guy has been dropped out from Pirates of the Caribbean. His career is taking whatever. And then when the truth comes out, what are the consequences for this lady?
That's true. And the lady is still getting jobos.
She's Aquaman 2 or something.
Yeah, the lady is still getting jobos. Johnny Depp, wapi.
Exactly.
Even now that he's cleared, he still has his name still has that.
It's been tarnished.
Yeah.
And it's I don't know. I think guys have to realize the following things. This is one thing I would just have to say now. One, women and men, we are not the same. We're not the same. Biologically, physically, even the way we think, we're not the same. Capabilities, we have different capabilities. They have the advantages, we have our advantages and etc. But we're not the same.
Yeah.
And the thing, that's the beauty about it. We're different. You get?
Yeah.
But now you cannot throw everything into one pool and say, okay, all men are bad, or right now we need to focus on women and forget about men. Because now the problem that you'll have is, and it's going to be a very interesting issue very soon.
It will be.
You see all these things for Me Too that are so global and whatever, they're slowly coming and seeping here. And it's because men now are afraid. That's number one. Men, if you have mental illness, if you're not even feeling okay, once in a day I'm feeling bored and whatever, and I'm depressed and whatever, you can't talk to anyone. Because if you talk to your friend will say, hey, Ninja, hey, man up. You can't talk to a girl even.
Be a man.
Be a man.
Yeah.
Exactly. That would be the word. No one wants to accommodate the fact that, hey, at the end of the day, even if I'm trying over here my heart to be a man, I am still a human being and I have feelings and things and whatever etc.
Toxic masculinity. Hizi microphone unaweza ngoa bana. Pole.
But you see, that's, and you see, already biologically, because of our hormones and whatever, we're predisposed not to talk. Like men in general are not people who come and talk about their problems. You get just the testosterone in us sometimes does not allow. You get, and that's not good for our mental health. So when you provide an environment where that is even worse, we cannot even now talk properly. You think any man is going to come up and say anything? You get, and then the pressure that's on men right now, bro, it's immense, it's intense, in the sense that, number one, I think it's the guys who were born in 1998. I've been told that the most confused of all men and all generations, because number one, they don't identify with millennials, neither do they identify with Generation Z. And then number two, they're graduating during Corona.
I don't know why we're laughing at this.
It's sad.
It's not funny.
Your final name indication,
not funny.
It was a pandemic. Wait, you're graduating on Zoom.
It's not funny. Yes, it's not funny.
You see those kind of guys, they miss a lot that we have gotten. You see, as for example, our interactions in university, in high school, of all places, we had very solid interactions with men we will call men of character. You get, but then as the generations go, those men of character are becoming fewer and fewer, so we don't even know who to follow. We don't know what is expected of us. We don't know if there's hope. You get, like, we're just a hopeless. But I have to say, there are people who are doing something about it. I remember me and you both, I think maybe we share the same sentiments. When we joined Strathmore, the first thing that ever shocked us was when we had father-son things. Father-son soccer, father-son this. I was like, I go call my dad.
To climb mountains.
Together. Me, I never heard of such things. But we all know the impact that it had.
It has,
even beyond your specific biological father, but just that male mentor who was always in your life, it had a very huge impact on them. And that's what men are lacking right now. And don't be shocked why they're going into mental illness, why the crime rate will keep going up, and even why you will continue having more single mother families. And it's all because men are
they're overwhelmed.
This trash that we've been called for a long time, now they're making it.
It's turning to reality.
It's being perpetuated.
So we're being trash for real. That's true. I understand fully what you're saying. I'm looking at the timer. We're at 34 minutes. This ended up being a podcast more about mental health than physical health, but I think we should touch a bit on physical health. As you can see, Simwa, I am the least physically healthy person.
I didn't want to bring it up, but now that you brought it up,
I mean, it's a bit, I don't know. I mean, I've tried. I have really genuinely tried. I struggle with, especially, okay, if you tell me to go to the gym, I'll go to the gym and it's no biggie for me. Like, I'll do gym, any muscle to ache, but I'll do it. I struggle with diet, you guys. Diet.
You love food.
I love.
It's rather you love the wrong food.
I think I can eat healthy things, but I also love unhealthy things.
I think
like it's just everything, you know. I mean, there are some healthy foods that I like. I like mboga. I eat mboga. I like ugali and mboga, but I also like burgers, you know. But anyway, this is not about me. It's not a podcast about me. It's a podcast about men's health. One of the key things that we're struggling with, and I think this is what No Shave November tries to bring attention to, is testicular and prostate cancer. I'm sorry if you're disappointed that we're not going to be talking about erectile dysfunction. I was actually just saying that as a joke. as a joke, we're going to actually be talking about prostate and testicular cancer. What are the triggers? How can we avoid these cancers? How do we treat people with this cancer? How, what can we do to make the lives of people who are going through cancer in general, not these two alone, but cancer in general, easier, because I think this is cancer in general is something that is becoming a serious issue in the world. I think almost everyone knows someone who's like super close who has had cancer.
Yeah. So cancer is becoming one of those menaces that is really ravishing our population.
Yeah.
And if anything, there are so many guys who are not families which are affected by cancer. The biggest problem with cancer is, unfortunately, sometimes it comes. It makes sure that all your accounts are wiped clean. Everyone, yourself, extended family, everyone, accounts wiped clean.
Yeah.
And then after that, the prognosis is still not good. You
Yeah.
end up dying. And it raises many questions as to how we're supposed to deal with that menace. And then number two, as to, how we protect ourselves when it comes to cancer. But one of the biggest, especially for like you said, prostate cancers, prostate cancers, testicular cancer, and I think the one that's more common in male, especially in Kenya, is colorectal cancer. It's becoming very widespread in Kenya. And
I didn't know that.
It's actually becoming extremely widespread. For women, we have cervical cancer and breast cancer, which are like top of the list.
Yes, they are.
For men, we have prostate, we have colorectal, and we have also vaginal cancers, which are becoming very sporadic. Especially those ones which are just coming without any, family history or whatever. Somebody just gets it like that. And the unfortunate thing is also patients are becoming younger and younger. Previously, it was a disease reserved for older people. But now we're seeing very young patients with also colorectal cancer and other forms of cancer.
Yeah.
And it's a broad topic, but one of the things I will say, okay, prevention. If you want to protect yourself from cancers, you said lifestyle is very important. You see, your body has these things called tumor suppressor genes. Your body inherently wants to stop a cancer from growing. Like every single time you see a cancer, is like a mistake in a cell that happens. It's like a small mistake happens, and then the cells start dividing all over the place.
That's called biology for dummies.
It's
a small mistake.
Exactly. A mistake happens, and then that mistake is propagated, and more cells start coming up. That's what the cancer is. Some of them are malignant, some of them are benign. But then
What's the difference?
So now when it comes to malignant and benign tumors, these are tumors or cancers. If you look at them, malignants are the ones which they're far from normal. The cell types are very far from normal, and then number two, they have this propensity to spread. That's one of the two characterizations of this kind of tumors. For benign, the cell keeps on replicating, but now they're not too far from the normal kind of cells, and because of that, most of them get limited to the local areas or where they are. For example, you've talked about prostate cancer. There's prostate cancer, and there's something called benign prostate hypertrophy, where the prostate just becomes big, but it's not going anywhere. It's not going to go anywhere. It just becomes big and starts causing symptoms because it's just becoming bigger. But then prostate cancer can easily go to your vertebrae, it can go to your abdomen and cause issues there, but it has that propensity to do that. So that's more or less the difference. But your body, like we said, your cells come up, the errors which are there, and if the errors are not corrected, you end up having a malignancy, like the cells is replicating all over the place and blah blah blah. But now your body inherently has ways to correct those errors, and those ways that it uses to correct those errors are more accurate and better when you're trying to live a healthy lifestyle. When you're eating the right kind of foods, when you're doing exercises, and also trying to keep fit and all those things, it helps.
Sorry guys, somebody has decided to fly a plane over my building. This airspace. Okay, so you can continue.
But you have that when you maintain a healthy lifestyle, now your body can easily correct those errors. If you don't, you're more inclined to actually dive into malignancy.
Okay, cool. And I think the last bit of it is, I think we've touched slightly on cancer. I think we should have maybe another session where we can
Probably,
even
'cause
go
there's a lot,
deeper into it. I think the first session we had on mental health really took most of the time. But I think the last bit I want to talk to you about would be spiritual health and what impact that has on your, because we've said it's a trilogy, like you have body, mind and spirituality, spiritual health. Simo.
How I wish I was an expert, but I'll speak like somebody who's recovering.
both of us, don't worry.
This is what I would say. Human beings have a soul, and that's a whole discussion that someone else will have about it. But human beings have a soul. As a doctor, I believe that is the truth, that human beings have a soul. The networks that connect your systems, your veins and your nerves and all are not enough to sustain a human being, and that is exactly why we have been unable. That is exactly why we've been unable to engineer a human being from nothing, or from different parts and whatever it is. And the thing about a human being's body or mind, or how you behave and all these things, they're all centered on not just your beliefs and your how do you call them, your convictions, but also they're centered on the spiritual states of your life. Probably a priest or a sheikh or I don't know, Hindus,
Spiritual leaders,
would have a better understanding of what all that means. But this is what I would say. Whenever there is chaos in any system, be it your mind, be it your body, be it your soul, there are going to be repercussions. You will find that if you look into the mind of psychopaths and all these sociopaths kind of people, you'll realize that the triggering thing behind it was a certain consistent chaotic thing that was happening either in their soul or in their mind. You get to the point where either I shared the following beliefs, and that's why I did 1, 2, 3, 4. And you know, most people don't want to acknowledge that religion sometimes has pushed people to do the wrong things, and has pushed people to actually become more sicker than they are spiritually and also physically. So people have to be really careful on discovering what is good for the soul and what is not. And I use these words very categorically, because it's not what's good for your soul and what's not good for your soul. It's not a very relative thing. It's a very objective fact. It's like the way we know the heart, calories, too much calories is not good for the heart. That one we know. There's no point where it becomes good for the heart. Once it crosses a certain limit, it becomes bad. And that's what people need to realize about their spiritual health. You'll find people who are very deeply religious, but extremely, extremely sick spiritually because of the beliefs that they hold. And I believe anything that makes you, number one, hate your neighbor, or number two, hate yourself, is not exactly good for your soul. And because those were in every... I'm a Christian, so I would say that the biggest law that he ever said is love yourself as you
love your neighbor.
Exactly. And then when you cannot love God if you don't love your neighbor, that just can't happen. Something that's physical and close to you, if you can't handle it, how can you handle God? So if anything makes you do the opposite of those, just those are basic human ethics. If anything makes you go against that, it's already starting to be bad for your spiritual health. And for sure there will be consequences. And that's why maybe it's not the best time for me to say this, but that's why people don't want to talk about certain evils that are legal. You get, you can have a whole discussion about things that people are doing outside here that are completely legal, but from your own point of view, you're seeing the repercussions. That means that thing might be probably evil and bad for their soul. So on a personal level, you need to identify, is this thing good for the soul or bad for the soul? And that's a long journey that all of us, including myself, are still trying to discover.
You're trying to figure it out.
Okay,
thank you. That has been our time. Thank you for watching. So guys, I don't know how many of you have watched till here while I'm talking, but if you are still here, thank you for being here. We plan on starting to do giveaways on Infinitiy. So tell a friend to tell a friend. This week, the giveaway that we're giving out is that we're going to be giving away
that English.
What?
Did you hear English? The giveaway that we'll be giving out is that this week will be
now that Simo has ruined my giveaway speech, we're not giving away anything.
Not giving away.
I cannot give you anything. But anyway, guys, the giveaway that we want to give out, is that correct?
Yeah, proceed.
Is we want to give you guys, dependent on how fast we grow and how many people you guys are talking to, how many friends you're telling about Infinitiy, and you're commenting, you're subscribing, and you're liking, right? We're going to give away a voucher, a nice voucher. I won't tell you how much it's going to cost. It might be a lot of money. Might be a lot of money, it might not be a lot of money, but oh well. So guys, if you want the voucher, make sure that you drop a comment, make sure you like, and make sure you subscribe, and I will be communicating who has won that giveaway. Thank you for watching. Also thank you Simo for coming through for us. I think we'll book a session where we'll just go deeper into matters cancer, because I feel like we haven't given that the attention that it required. Also go deeper into matters erectile dysfunction, because I'm serious about that. It's not
it's actually
it's a genuine problem. It's a genuine problem that we as men are facing, and we need to have conversations, because it's all about having conversations, genuine conversations. And I hope we did not offend anyone by laughing. I mean, it was a joke, and we do not mean to laugh at anyone who is going through that. It's just so thank you guys for watching. Make sure to tell a friend. Santeni sana.